Mr. Albright. Meeting of Sherman County Commissioners comes to order, please. First off is public comment.
Good morning.
Morning.
I just wanted to officially let you know that Jeff passed yesterday morning. I'm sure you all know already, but my undersheriff passed, and I really want to thank the public and you for your support and everything that's going on. But I learned something yesterday that really disturbs me. His widow, by one day, is going to lose her insurance tomorrow because of, I don't know if it's a county policy or insurance policy. And she's got to deal with that. And it broke my heart when I found that out. And we got to figure out how to fix that. A family going through this shouldn't have to worry about it. If they have pre-existing conditions and she's got to buy medicine or something the next day, she can't do it.
It's because it was the end of the month. That's exactly what happened.
So it's the end of the month, it ends.
Yeah.
So she loses her insurance tomorrow. And I'm heartbroken because along with everything else, what do we do? How do we get our families through this? 14 years of service to this county. And now, and she's a medical professional, works at the hospital, and
Yeah.
their enrollment's not till October, so.
Guess we'll have to visit with Rhonda and see.
Well, you know, if there's a clause in there for extenuating circumstances or something, I can see it if you just resign.
Right.
But this is
Yeah.
unavoidable.
I was not aware of that. So.
I wasn't either. It just blew me away. I didn't want to tell her once Maria told me. I took me about an hour to tell her because I just couldn't, with everything she was having to deal with already.
Right. Yeah.
But
I would think that, like, when somebody's hired on, I mean, it can be.
Top button there. Just push that down. There you go.
Okay, I would think, you know, when somebody's hired on, you can negotiate terms and they can come on insurance immediately. I mean, it doesn't happen very often, but there are times when that's negotiated. So I would think that as a commission, you guys could decide to.
Because when they hire on, most of them have a 90-day waiting
it's
period,
60
but they
days,
or
but
60 days.
You just
but
can't start in the middle of the month, so.
yeah, and I would think that we should be able to, you know,
Extend.
extend
yeah.
it to that 60 days at least to give them an opportunity.
Yeah, so when I put it in, I mean, the system automatically, that's what it reverts to, is what our policy is.
Okay.
So it's our policy. It's not a Blue Cross and Blue Shield policy.
I don't know the technicalities of that.
We better
if it's within
let's-
You
ours.
get a hold of Rhonda.
We'll look into it.
Yeah, we'll find out. And
Absolutely.
surely there's some way we can take care of this because, well, I guess we've never been put in a situation like this before. So, like you, we weren't aware of it.
I mean, I appreciate you trying to do something,
Yeah.
Okay.
see what we can figure out.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other public comments this morning? Do we have checks to sign?
Big pile of them.
Here. This is all checks. Okay.
Was everyone able to read the minutes?
Yes.
Yes. There's one correction I wanted on there.
Okay.
Down there where it says Jarlo or something. That should be Gerald DeBoer. Down towards the bottom there. It talks about our commissioners towards the very last of the minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure it's just a typo, but if we could correct that, put his correct name in there.
Yeah, okay.
Bob, will you hand me a pen, please?
There any other additions or corrections? Maria, did you find where that was already?
I don't have it, but I
Okay.
will.
Well, then we will do as, do I hear a motion to approve as corrected?
I will so move.
I'll second that.
And
What was the
moved and
date on those?
On this?
The minutes, yes.
Well, that was the August 15th meeting.
Okay.
Been moved and second, we approve the August 15th as corrected. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion passed.
When you were looking through the email that showed the checks, I don't know if you guys noticed there's a check to me on there for $500.
Yep.
Okay, what that is you remember when Matt Brininger and Brian James came in here and they're building that.
Oh, they got them rails for meal.
Well, to buy metal steps is gonna be $10,000. So I called them, I said, I have 2 sets that I didn't use for a project. They came and looked at them and I delivered them for $500. So pretty good savings there.
Yes.
That's what that check is for. Our public comment section is on. We just had a new person come in case she wants to say anything.
There was some checks to some firemen. Does the forest department pay us and then we?
pay them.
Okay. That's what I was thinking was happening. Yeah.
I'm sure you both seen that large check for the road grader did come in about 2
Right.
weeks ago,
Yeah.
so. While we're doing public comment section, did any of you guys get calls on the striping on 8th Street?
Yes, I got a call.
I've seen some of the comments, had one conversation. My response is the cost of that was approximately $5,500 to do 8th Street. If
The
you
striping only.
For the striping of it. If you prevent one accident or one lawsuit out there, it's money well spent. But it truly wouldn't be $5,500 because that guy that received the bid is based on miles, and the more miles you have, the cheaper he gets. So
Right.
if we'd eliminated that, it would have went higher. So we're probably talking around $4,000 to stripe that.
Well, I had one comment negative and I had several comments on the positive side that
Yeah, I had a lot of.
there was people that were appreciative of it. So, and it, because it's been quite a few years ago when there was a death on Highway 24 by NSI because there was no striping.
Yeah.
So,
Well, a lot of the negative comments that were made, I guarantee you if we had a death or a wreck out there, the comments would go the other way, how stupid we were for not striping that for what the cost
Yes.
was. So we just have to do the best we can with what we have.
well, and it was a package deal.
Yes.
Everything was bid into the entire thing.
Yep.
Mr. James. We're signing checks right now, so as soon as we get done with that, we've got about 5 minutes of open comment yet, so.
I didn't get the steps delivered.
Oh, yeah, Brian doing all that.
There was no,
Your tractor in there.
yeah, miscommunication, no loader tractor there, so I went back, got my loader tractor, and we got them all taken care of, so.
Well, it sounded like it worked out fine.
Yeah, it worked out fine. We got her done.
Appreciate you doing that.
Sure. I had never been on that training facility. That's,
Oh, yeah?
yeah, it's getting to be quite a
Yeah,
place out there.
yeah, Matt's doing a good job.
Have you started receiving your other shipping containers yet?
Not yet. Matt will be in here to give you an update on that, but that won't be probably till 2 weeks.
Okay.
Why don't you just attach it if you guys wanna see it? I think it's done, already done. Stop sign, it's their van.
I'm sorry, I can't.
So that's just, if you guys wanna take a look at it, it's already been paid, it's topside, it's their van.
Oh, okay. Do we need to discuss that today?
I don't know, she just said that, let you guys see it.
So we paid for the van for topside, but
Right.
they, then what, in a year they pay us back, is that correct?
I think so.
It was like a,
It's a lease purchase or something.
we had to own it for,
Right.
for a year because we could get the government discounts for the van.
Right.
And then next year they will pay us back for this. I wonder if we should need to put some kind of a notice in there or something so that next year at this time, I mean, it'll be something we'll forget, or I won't be here anyhow, but we need to have some kind of a notice so that next year at this time we make sure that that gets paid back. Is that possible to put some kind of reminder in there, or?
Yeah. Figure out something.
Okay. This one has the sheriff's name on the back, something that needs to be delivered to him, or what? Or is that something, that looks like something might go to Jaleesa or something?
It's not Julie's.
Okay, I'll just put it with the file.
Brian, how long were those 3 firefighters gone for that force project?
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Did they take any equipment, truck with them, or just?
RE-66.
Okay.
Yeah, that was one of the things, was how stiff that truck rode down.
How what?
How stiff the seats were right down there. Not right seats, every time they hit a bump, it was like, feeling every bump. Our apparatus are designed for comfort. Get you where you need to go.
Most of the time, the apparatus aren't going to be, you're not going to be in the truck that
Yeah,
long.
exactly right. It's,
But what you pay for them, you'd think they'd put a nice seat in it.
oh, you think so, yes, sir. Everybody gets it right.
talked to Rod Roeder yesterday. They filled the Smoky again. We are at 80 acre-feet for the year so far, which for the heat and dry weather, he thinks we're gonna come in at just a little over 100 again, which means we got 0 leakage. And he said they are catching quite a few large catfish down there now that they put in last year. And he said the minnow population is thick along the edge. You can just see them along the edges. So everything seems to be going pretty well there.
The only thing that bothers me is that we haven't put in for the CFAP grant for 3 years. That's 120 grand that we haven't got.
Something we should be doing, isn't it?
Yeah, I would say so.
Well, thanks for reminding us, Rod. We better get on that. What time of year do we have to put in for that?
Deadline's in June, I think.
Ah, so next year. Well, I guess next year you guys will have to do that. If we remember.
Yep.
And how did you remember that?
As we start talking about it now.
Start thinking about it.
Yep.
It's like, well, I remember the first year we put in for it, but we were denied.
Yep.
And then the next year we didn't put in for it at all because there
Yep.
was no communication with anybody on it. That same way this year. So,
Well, I guess one thing it does frustrate me about the communication part, I have tried many times now to call the state about when they put the fish in. No response. I've left tons of voicemails. Can't get no response. They never notify us, which they said here in the meeting, said they would notify us when they put fish in. Dave Wigger said they still drop them off either early in the morning or late at night, and no communication, and I'm not sure why that is. But it'd be nice if they would communicate to us when they're putting the fish in. We could let the public know that fish had been stocked in there, but. So we still have a huge breakdown there with communication with the state on that. Oh,
Do you have a bottom sheet for us, Maria?
I'll make a motion to pay the bills in the amount of $65,214.50 and $459,922.52.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded that we pay the 2 bills. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is passed. The 65 was for the van, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Mr. James.
So you can explain. Okay, so Sherman County Rural Fire Department with Task Force 7, our special operations team, we are trying to find different places where we can do training so that everybody keep their skills fresh and up to where they need to be. So when Schooler Grain purchased NSI, they shut down the extraction part for sunflower, the sunflower part, so the north side of the plant. And that building is prime for technical rescue type training. There's a lot of, Brian, you can come up here. There's a lot of catwalks, a lot of angle iron, a lot of steel beams, stuff like that the guys can practice with removing a victim from small spaces and everything else. So we got with Jeff Bend, manager of Schooler Grain, and asked him if we could use their facility for training. And he said not a problem. They just needed to come up with a agreement / waiver in case anybody got hurt on their property or if we caused any damage to their property. So this is the agreement that Schooler Grain came up with. I had Brett look at it, our county attorney, and he said the only thing that raised his eyebrow was the Section 2, which was if the fire department caused any damage, we'd be responsible for fixing that damage. And Brett's concern was that
Who determines that?
who determines that? But also it could be a costly expense
But I don't foresee us causing any damage whatsoever. We're doing rope training. We're not doing any type of prying. We're not doing any structural removal of anything. We're tying ropes to I-beams and stuff like that, and then rappelling. We're not rappelling, but
Lowering or moving.
How much, like, I guess, what are we talking as far as physical size of this structure?
That's where the hexane plant was.
it's that big blue building to the north of NSI.
Okay.
It's probably 80 by 30.
I mean, maybe this is a bad idea, I don't know, but it might be a good idea to shoot some video of the facility, like the main areas, doors, whatever, before you guys start doing
Training.
anything.
Sure, and we can do that.
Taking pictures of anything we're gonna tie into and.
Right.
Yeah.
That way there's total proof if there was damage done, what was done. and-
Right. So,
That'd be the only thing I'd have. I think that'd be a
Brett, was there
good
any
document.
thing in there, could we put in that there will be no cutting, only attaching to
Yeah, I
stuff?
mean, you could certainly add that. When Brian and I talked, my main concern was, obviously, there's no intention that any damage is
Right.
going to happen. But given a facility like that, the what-ifs, I felt it was appropriate that he provide it to you guys for your consent as well, given that it'd be the county liability at that point.
Okay.
Just get some good documentation of the facility before you start.
sure. And that's not a problem. We can do that.
Okay.
Like I said, take pictures, videos, whatever. Like what Lieutenant Browniger said, take pictures of the areas that they're going to be tying off to and everything else. So,
And anything that's really noticeable, you see something that's damaged,
Take a picture of
take a
it.
picture of it.
sure.
You know, with phones today, you could just take a video every time before you start training of where you were training at.
Yeah.
So you had proof exactly what it looked like, because your phone's gonna date it and everything anyhow.
But I would
That
still
way-
start with a overall video of the facility
Start before.
before we ever touch it, to go in there and have an idea of what to, and that way, you can also look at that video and go, hey, this is a great area
And I will be doing a walkthrough prior to going out there with our guys, so I can
Okay.
figure out what scenarios we'll be running, so I can definitely keep an eye out at that time too, so.
Okay,
Okay.
sounds good.
Sounds good.
Well, I just need then approval for you guys for me to sign this agreement, and then I can get it to Schooler Green, and then the guys are going to train on it next Wednesday. So,
Okay.
be on the September 7th.
7th, yeah. Okay.
So,
All right, well, due to the fact it's been reviewed by Brett, I'll make a motion to approve the training agreement.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded, we approve the contract with School of Green for firefighter training at their Caruso facility. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion is passed.
perfect, thank you.
Mhm.
Do I need to sign something here, or are you gonna have a fresh copy, or?
No, I think, unless you feel like you want to sign where it says Sherman County Rural Fire Department.
Matt, I did tell him about the steps for $500, so when the checks went through here this morning, we knew what that was for to me.
Okay.
I explained, I think the price was like 10 grand to buy those steps too.
Probably,
Yeah,
Yep.
so quite a savings.
Oh my gosh, yes, yeah. And Schooler actually has been donating quite a bit of stuff to us.
From out there.
Yeah, we're out there. We've
Yep.
already got quite a few staircases and handrails and some other random items in their steel pile out there. They said for sure just go out there and pick what you want, and then they
Good.
donated it to us, so
Good.
saved the department
A lot of money there.
a lot.
Yeah, good.
Thank you.
I guess, I don't know if we have time, but after Matt gets done, Eric and I want to talk to you guys real quick about Medicaid. Is that okay? After Matt gets done?
Yeah.
Can I give you guys an update on Medicaid?
Yep.
Okay.
Well, I just wanted to give you guys an update on the grant that I applied for through Dane Hansen for the fire training. burn building upgrade, so we did receive 100% funding on that.
Good.
So $67,200 there. Check is here, Ashley has it, and we've started putting everything in motion to get that going. So Connex boxes will be delivered first week of September. I told we'll get those set and in place by October 1st. Shay and the welding students will do welding from October 1st until February 1st. And then Dan Kennedy will be doing our concrete. He'll have from February 1st until March 10th. And that way we'll have roughly 20 days for it to set up and cure before our April fire school. So we'll have a few incidentals out of our budget, but like I said, majority of that project is funded, so super exciting. We'll have the only 3-story burn building between Denver and Salina, so possibly gain some extra ISO points there. And so.
Yeah, sounds good.
Not to wish bad luck on you, but I do hope that you're behind schedule because we get so much snow this winter they can't work out there. We need it.
We need it.
Yeah.
That's all I had.
Okay.
You guys. So.
You
Okay.
bet.
Thank you.
Eric and Brian?
Thanks, Matt. Go ahead, Eric.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Effective July 1st of this year, Kansas Medicaid actually did a very substantial increase in their ambulance reimbursement, specifically surrounding mileage. To give you an idea, prior to July 1st, they were reimbursing at $3 a loaded mile for any transport that was medically necessary. After July 1st, it went up to $11.56 per loaded mile. That actually is higher than Medicare and I believe Blue Cross pays. With that, we have a standing order from the commission that we do not do out-of-county Medicaid transfers. In my opinion, it would probably be worthwhile to rescind that and allow us to do that, as Medicaid is paying substantially more.
Sounds like it.
Yeah, because that was the whole issue, was that
Yep.
Wasn't worth it.
wasn't making it, you know,
Yeah.
even close,
I agree. I think it'd be a good idea then.
so.
Whole different set of circumstances now.
So I don't know if there needs to be a motion to
Well, I would think,
change.
I would think there would need to be a motion, is that the motion that, or is that just,
This is just documentation. This is a general bulletin from the Kansas
Medicaid.
KMAP, Kansas
Okay.
Medical Assistance Program. And I also have an email from Deb Kaufman, who's in charge of our region
Region.
with EMS, verifying the dollar amounts.
okay. Do I entertain a motion to start doing Medicaid transports again?
I would make that motion with the fact that we need, I don't know if it's a resolution or just a motion before. So we need to check. If it is a resolution, we'll have to change it resolution. But either way, resolution or motion, so we can do those transfers now out of county.
How soon-
Within
how soon
the
do you
state
gotta
of
know?
Kansas.
Within the state of Kansas.
Yes.
Okay, when you say that, they won't pay.
Leaving, so it needs to be Kansas Medicaid.
Okay,
This does
So
not
we-
affect Nebraska Medicaid, Colorado
Okay.
Medicaid. So if it's a Kansas Medicaid insured person
they have to go,
leaving from a Kansas hospital, yes,
Staying in the state of Kansas. Or can you leave from here and go to Denver?
they can go to Denver,
but
Okay.
they have to
but
leave.
they have to leave from the state of Kansas.
Okay.
Well, I guess we'll have to check on, see what we got.
But-
If that was a resolution.
But either way, we'll either change the resolution or motion so that you can do those transfers from now on. Okay.
Perfect.
Okay,
Is there any questions?
got a motion? Did you make a motion then, Larry?
Yes.
Okay, do I have a second for that? or-
I'll second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. The motion should read that we will start transporting Medicaid patients, Kansas Medicaid patients originating in Kansas,
Yep.
start transporting them again
For inter-facility transports.
for inter-facility transports. Thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed, same sign. That'd make a big difference.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, see you guys, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, Roberta, I think we're right on schedule.
We're 15 minutes early, but if you want to go ahead, we can.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I wanted to, well, first I think I'll ask about the status of our recent Cora request.
I know that we're waiting on something from the state. As any other information, you'll have to ask the election officer, and she's not in office today.
What was the Cora request?
The request is for cast vote record
For what?
file. It's called a cast vote record file. It is a record from the machine,
Okay.
the counting machine. And it resides within the county, so do you know why would there be?
I don't have any details for you. I'll have to talk to Ashley about that.
Okay, and where is she?
She's not in office today.
She's not, will she be here tomorrow?
She will not. You will have to catch her next week.
So she's out the rest of the week. So this is a time-sensitive request. And okay, let me think about that. So you are completely out of the loop or unable to fulfill the request?
Yeah.
She had told me she was going to work on it.
She's been working on it.
Yesterday.
I do know that. But I know that she's waiting on the state. I can't tell you the details of that. You'll have to talk to her.
Okay.
But she is working on it.
Okay. So are the 2020 election records scheduled for destruction at this point?
I don't know if she has it scheduled. I don't know. Again, question for her.
Okay. Will you be in touch with her this week?
I mean, not unless there was, if there's an emergency, I can reach out to her, yes.
Okay, well,
She's available by phone.
okay. Well, if you happen to visit with her, will you ask her for an update about this, please? Okay. But she'll be back Monday?
Monday's a holiday, so she'll be
Monday's
back
not, yeah,
Tuesday.
right.
Yeah.
So, regarding our attempt to do the 100% hand count of this primary election, we had discussed, and you guys and Ashley had all agreed to do a 100% hand count of the ballots for the primary election. But it was a good learning experience, but it didn't result in a 100% hand count of the ballots. So, at the time, that seemed like, okay, we made a good attempt, it was a good learning experience, And that was probably okay for now, but in light of the situation that happened in Cherokee County, I think we need to go ahead and make arrangements to complete that count.
That
And-
would be entirely up to Ashley.
Yes, I realize that. But originally,
But it's my
She-
understanding that you all agreed that night you were done.
that's what I just said.
Yes.
It,
So-
at the time, it seemed like that was not really an acceptable decision, but it was, it seemed okay at the time. But we have completely new information now. With that, with that situation that was discovered in Cherokee County, and you've got to know that that's not just a one-time, one-place event, that puts the election results in question. And so I guess, I don't know if Maria can speak to this. Are you the assistant election officer, or what?
Deputy clerk.
So there is no, is there an assistant election officer?
No, because we have not to that title.
Okay. This is just something I ran across. Each of the 105 Kansas counties has an election officer responsible for conducting all official elections held in the county. In 4 of the largest counties, which would be Johnson, Sedgwick, Shawnee, and Wyandotte, the election officer is the election commissioner appointed by the Secretary of State. In the other 101 counties, it's the county clerk that's elected by the people of the county.
What are you reading?
Reading-
What are you looking at? It's just a.
Straight off the county or the state
State
website.
website.
The Secretary of State. You're reading from the Secretary of State's
Yeah.
website. Yes.
There's no assistant, there's no committee. It's one elected official or appointed in the large county,
Right. Okay.
period.
And so okay. Thank you.
We have no statutory jurisdiction to tell the county clerk how to run the elections. None.
That's understood.
But the safeguard to that is, she can't change anything unless we all agree. All 4 people will have to agree to a change. If one person's out, the whole thing does not change.
But it has to start with her.
Now, why is that? If she has full authority.
But she can't change something. Am I wrong, Brett? It has to be a unanimous agreement between the commissioners and the election
On the
officer.
selection, implementation, or discontinuation of electronic machines, it takes the commission and the election officer.
Yes. And if one person's out, the whole thing's out the window.
Correct.
Nope.
On the selection and what?
I'm sorry?
Would you repeat what you just said, please?
The selection, implementation, or discontinuation of an electronic machine, be it computer or optical tabulator, for that to happen, it has to be a decision with the commission and the election officer. If one and or the other objects to it, there's no change, and that's by statute.
Okay, thank you. Well, I'll repeat what he said for the microphone.
Okay.
So, see, make sure I got it right. So regarding the selection, implementation, and discontinuation of election machines, there must be an agreement between the county commission and the election officer.
And that has to be unanimous. If one commissioner votes out, the whole thing's out, right? If any one of those 4 people don't agree, it doesn't change.
Okay, and that's in the statute too? Because usually the commission goes by a majority vote.
The way that, and I don't have it in front of me, Roberta, but the way it reads is that it takes the commission and the election officer. And I clarified with the Secretary of State's office that that means unanimous, means all of them. So if any one or the other objects, then there is a change.
Unanimous according to the Secretary of State.
Yes, I'm remembering the email with their office correct.
Yep, that's the same information I've got. It has to be a unanimous agreement.
Okay, so, back to my question, but that's interesting, thank you. So, I'll wait and discuss this with Ashley, but at the time, she had agreed to do the 100% hand count, and so I believe with the information at hand that we need to pursue that. And so in pursuing that, we need to have a group of people that are interested, that know what the time frame is going to be, are able and willing and interested to make that commitment, and then proceed to finish. So,
Well, she made that allowance. I don't think it was a mandate. She made the allowance to do a 100% count. Maybe she's changed her mind now. I don't know. I mean, next time that may not be the case. I can't say.
right.
You
we
know, I
won't.
don't know.
So what
We
races
won't know.
are of importance are left that you didn't get a count? I mean, you counted the commission race, which was a very important one for this county. So, and it was spot on when you did the hand count.
So, all of the statewide races, none of them are completed, and the ballot question issue with value them both is not completed. There's not even a hint of where, what it stands, where the accuracy stands for it, because it wasn't tallied by precinct like the other races were. So,
Did you guys
There's-
hand count that particular thing on the yes/no vote on?
we counted everything in the precincts that we did, but see what I mean? The other races are tallied by the machine by precinct. The ballot issue, a ballot question issue, is not tallied by precinct, and so you wouldn't have any idea where you stood in regards to matching the machine or not until you got to the complete end, till every vote in the county was counted. So,
But the
because it was
precincts you
tallied.
did count were accurate.
No, we don't know because there's nothing to compare to.
I see.
Yeah, it didn't. The machine doesn't tally that question.
Okay.
So it only tallied it by the full county. So anyway,
Okay.
all right. Well, we'll talk to Ashley.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yep. Bet.
Still ahead of schedule? Sure
Yep.
enough.
I can't remember the statute number, the one, there's two that I'm referencing, one goes to the optical, and the other is the computer, but that was in the list of statutes that I gave you a few weeks ago. It may be one of those.
Mr. Quinzer, are you?
No. She's in the building.
Okay.
I don't know, can I come up though, even though it's not my name? Can I come up?
Well,
You're kind of related.
kind of related here.
Well,
So.
but that doesn't mean anything. That's, what it says is what it
Well,
says.
my opinion on this is the boss say it's okay to come up here, you can come up
Well,
here.
she can't vocally say no yet because she's not in here.
Oh, Edie got caught.
Be careful what you say.
She
You
must
walked
have been
in.
listening outside.
You've been had.
So did the commission have any, by saying there would be a hand count? What Roberta was talking about? Did that mean anything? I mean, was it, is it all?
No, I
That's
didn't.
all the election.
It's all Ashley, so that was your guys's,
We were just kind of
Intent.
we were like the mediators. It's like, we're fine with it. If she's fine with it, you guys are fine with it, go for it. I mean,
But what
it's-
I was referring to, at 5:30 that evening, after they'd been counting all day, they all agreed that they were happy with what they'd done, and they were done.
but,
Because she asked if they wanted to stay later that night, and they chose
I
not
would
to.
say that from outside, I don't have the details you guys have, but, and you guys are similar in age to me, so you could probably remember the time when there was hand counts,
It's because they had no other
right?
options for it.
And how many people did that take to do that? You know?
No idea.
All I know is, as a youngster, back when they used to do, I think it was every township.
Yep.
They did it, we did it for a time in our house. So I, as a little guy, watched it, and there was 3 or 4 ladies that came in and ran the election and counted the election. And then, according to what I understood my mother to say, that then one of them would be sworn and deputized, whatever, to bring the election results to the courthouse, I think.
Yeah.
And so we had 3 or 4 ladies per township counting, and I have no idea how Goodland, you know, how many people. But if I understand right, there was 6 counters?
Yes.
Probably, yeah.
6 that came in here.
There were three
So there was
Republicans.
never, there was never the intention to count 100% of the vote.
That was the intention. They had 3 Republicans and 3 Democrats, and they were gonna vote, count them all that day.
But not with 6 people.
Yes,
Yes.
yes. They went through some of those ballots 4 times to
But-
make sure that they,
I guess I'm not getting my point across, that in the old days, it took 3 people per township to do it. So it took a lot of people.
it took a lot of people, but also, I know that when they originally hand counted, the city ordinance would allow them to start counting before the election was finished. They would have a largest percentage of their ballots counted by the time the polls closed.
And they were by wards.
Okay.
They were under a different form of government then.
Okay, and do you have any idea how many, I mean, surely there was more than 3 or 4 election workers per ward, but
Oh,
I don't know.
I don't know.
You're
I-
correct, there was 3 to it, out where I lived in township, but I do know, a lot of times, because I sat with my mom, she did that, and it was late at night, because hand counting, a lot of times there was a disagreement, and then they'd have to start over, and I remember sitting there a long time at night waiting, it's like, man, let's go home. But hand counting, there's a lot of place for human error, and that's why you gotta have more than one counting to make sure that it comes out correct.
I understand all that, but to have brought together 6 people to count the whole county, doesn't that sound
I said,
odd? I mean, 6 people.
I
for-
said it all along, there should have been another crew coming in.
Well, there should have been,
I mean,
if there's
that's
3
my
per,
opinion.
3 per township, and how many townships we got?
Well,
8 or so there's at least 24, and then I don't know how many you had in the wards.
but again, there's a lot less people in the townships. You know, in some townships now, there's only about 15 people in the entire township.
And that's why they come, I mean, I
Right.
presume that's why it's all moved
Yeah.
now, and now we're all in.
A lot less people in the whole county,
Yeah.
and the primary is a lot less people vote than in the main one. There was what, 1,200 and some votes? Or
17.
Yeah. it was-
1,700?
Yeah.
Okay.
But back
But-
then, there was
But do you see the intent behind it? It's pretty hard to say there was an intent to count all the votes.
Well, I think Rochelle was intent not to count them all that day. Rochelle was on that
How
committee.
in the world?
So you can hear me?
Yes.
I was actually in that room that day that we hand counted those. And I resent the fact that it sounds like I did something wrong, because I take that very seriously.
How did I imply
I
that
didn't say
did
you,
something
I'm just
wrong?
saying, I feel like it sounds like we did something wrong, but I take that very seriously. Our intent was to count every ballot that day. And I would have stayed there till midnight, 2 o'clock, whatever. I've helped with elections in other counties before, back before we had machines where you were there till 2 o'clock in the morning. We intended on counting every ballot. We got to 4:30 probably, and we had every race match the machine except for 2, which that ballot clearly, to me, explains why we were off. That race, we counted it probably 4 to 6 times. We started feeding the machine to see if we could find out which ballot was wrong, which took probably an hour, because you have to literally put it in one at a time. You have to wait, you put it in,
Let it process.
yeah, and then you can stick the next one in, so it's not like a copier where you can stick in 25 pages at a time. So that took a lot of time. But we, as a group of all 6 of us, agreed that we felt like it was counting accurately. And so I personally asked Ashley, do we have to count every single one of these votes if we feel this election results are accurate with the machine? And she said that was up to us. So we took a vote. We literally raised our hands, and we
And how many
decided.
voted yes?
All 6 of us.
All 6 voted.
Yeah. And so 6 people actually, when I lived in another county, it was probably like 20 years ago, 6 was about what we had count those at that time. So I felt like that's adequate. And that audit meeting is an open meeting, so if anybody wanted to come watch us vote or tally those, it's open so people can come watch us if they want. I'm sure if they're going to be there commenting, it's going to distract us, but it is an open meeting, so if all of you want to come watch the audit being done, you're welcome to do so.
The 2 races that were not hand counted were Tracy Mann and Derek Schmidt, if I'm correct. There were 2.
Those 2 are the ones we were one off.
That you were one off, and
Yes.
you come to the agreement. There was such a spread between the winner and the second that
Yeah, Tracy Mann is uncontested,
Right.
so 1 vote wasn't going to make a difference, and Derek Schmidt was a large margin, so 1 vote, which after seeing the ballot, that was the problem, and I've talked to several clerks about this on their opinion. So when you're feeding it through the machine the first time, it's looking at every single race on both sides of the ballot, and I don't know if you guys remember, but all of them were dark circles except those 2. It looked like they were almost like a pencil or
Right.
Like they tried to erase it or
or their pen was not working or something. So those 2 were light. So when it goes through the machine, it's assuming that the person that filled it out is going to fill their ovals out consistently. And so since it's looking at every race, it probably rejected those 2 because of that. Well, the second time they went through, we were looking only for when Ashley finally got ran it through the machine and it came out the same number we did, she was asking it to only look at 2 races. So then the machine is looking at just those 2, and those 2 at that time, it's shaded enough, they marked them. So that's why, according to what I've been told, that's why it probably counted it the later time, because it was only looking at 2 specific things on the ballot and not the whole ballot. Where if she would have probably put it in as the entire ballot, she probably wouldn't have counted it again, if that makes sense.
Yeah, because we had the one provisional ballot that it looked like the person goes, set their pin in the one hole and said, no, I want to fill out this. Well, there was colors in both, but one was darker than the other. And
So that happens too,
That
or
happens.
sometimes people put an X,
X.
or if the circle, isn't perfectly colored in, so, those things happen. But it's still, I'll say this a million times, I am so grateful we have something to compare to, because otherwise, we're counting ballots, and we have no idea if we're getting, a count. So it's nice to have that bounce off of knowing that we have something. Yeah.
Right.
And that's why we do the
Right,
audit.
right. If it's wrong, then you'll recount your ballots 2 or 3 times.
And before, last election, I've helped with the election before, and you usually do, and I'm not sure what the word is, but you pick, like, each precinct or whatever, you have to do one race out of that precinct. Saying that right?
Yeah, you
Every-
canvass a certain election.
Like every precinct, you have to look at least one race in each one of those to see if that is coming out correctly with what the machine has.
Right.
So you're checking every single, precinct.
And during the day of election, the poll workers rotate all the time. They go up, check the machine to see if it matches the number of people that have registered. And not just one person does that, they rotate to make sure that the number that went through the machine matches the amount of people that registered to vote that day. That's a safeguard
And
to
I've
make
never
sure.
helped with that, so I don't know.
Yeah, I talked to some of the poll workers and they explained that to me, to make sure that the numbers, there's not fake numbers there, like an extra 20 people are in the machine that didn't register over here.
And, anybody that wants to help with the audit, I mean, they're always looking for volunteers. They can't get enough volunteers is probably the reason why I was asked to begin with, because, you can't get people that want to do that and that are gonna spend a whole day, counting ballots. But I'm nobody's puppet. I don't care who you are. If somebody asks me to do something that I don't agree is morally right, I'm not gonna do it. So Ashley never has asked me to do anything that I would,
Well, I know,
So-
I talked to Ashley, and you're asked because one of the poll workers that she had intended to work wasn't able to work that day. And
Yeah,
so
I'm
you
always
were
a
on
last
short
resort,
minutes.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm usually, if somebody calls in sick or, I've only helped a couple of times, but it was usually that someone had a sick kid or they were sick or something, and, so.
So Commissioners, I have a question. Hi, I'm Brenda Windsor, and I have a question. So was the commissioner race 100% counted?
I don't know, wasn't there?
The commission race was 100% counted.
But there were 39 votes that kept the machine glitching for an hour.
Over
and
one.
Those were not counted,
Over one.
but those haven't been hand counted. And that could call a race.
The machine has not, the machine had showed that there was no discrepancies at any time. And, you have to have a little faith and stuff. When we have when you say a computer can do anything, well, it's all what it's programmed to do. And it was programmed to count those ballots. And,
But
yeah.
those haven't been counted, hand counted. So could we have them hand counted?
Rochelle, do you know what you're talking about?
The ones with the provisional
the
ballots. So we put in the
provisional
machine at-
ballots that I ran
Provisional
through the
ballots.
machine.
The
Okay.
39 provisional ballots were not hand counted. We asked if you guys would hand count them, and they were like, no, we can't do that. But
Well, we as
did
commissioners
the-
cannot.
Well,
Yes,
ask
okay.
Ashley. I mean, you guys gotta be here, she needs to be here to answer your questions.
Are-
She was out of the room at that time.
Are those separated? Do we know which ones they are, or are they all in one?
Well, they were.
Okay.
I don't know if they still are.
Okay.
That'd be interesting to see.
Didn't you count them the day you opened them?
We counted them by machine only.
We didn't hand count.
So you can't say that that commissioner race or the others were 100% counted, because those 39, the races were close enough that those 39 provisional ballots could have thrown a race. His race was 2 off. Mine was 3. And I've been doing some research, and I can't get the Cora, that's why I'm here, is because I'm on a ballot. I have a right to look at my race, and I don't know what all the rules are on that. You would have to ask the county attorney, but I have a right to see who voted in our precinct. And I have.
You have the
I
right to see
asked-
the ballots. You do not have the right to see who voted in your precinct.
Okay,
Yes, you will. It'll be public knowledge.
Yeah.
They signed in.
Who they
Not-
voted for won't be on.
Yeah,
No,
not how they
Yeah,
voted.
I don't wanna know who they voted for. I just wanna know, there's 30 people or 31 in our precinct that actually vote, or are registered to vote. There are 20 that voted. And one of those that I looked at, and I don't want to say names, but they're still in our, they have moved out of our Lawrence precinct.
You just have to know what
So
time
I'm
frame.
wondering, did they vote in our precinct?
I think they have a 30-day time frame. So I mean,
So you
Well,
do,
they've been in town.
this might be a Brett question, but you do have a right as a candidate to ask for a recount. And I don't know how that process goes, but you do, so if the commissioners, you know, would have, and I think this happened 4 years ago when Larry and Harlan were running, I think there was a recount maybe, but not 100% sure. But you do, as a candidate, have the right to ask for a recount, and Brett or Ashley can probably go over
Is
the
that
process.
within
But
5
yeah,
days,
that
though?
is for any race, if you're in the,
Yeah.
on the ballot.
You have about 3 days, I think, and then it's over, so, yeah. Before you even know what you're thinking. But they do have that ready. Yeah.
But I put in a quora for this. Sorry, are you done? Do you want me to wait?
No,
Sorry. I got jumped in.
I think a lot of what she has to say is this Cora, and I don't know where you guys come into it, and where the clerk's office comes into it,
we'd
where
have
the
to-
county attorney comes into it, that, you know, I went into the Register of Deeds the other day. This room's open. This is all open records. You can come see.
Mhm.
She goes into the county clerk's office, and
I want to see it on the
yeah,
computer.
we have a right to be able to look at these checks that you guys just signed, correct?
Yeah.
Yes.
So how do we make that happen? If we say, can we come in and see these
Why-
checks?
If you want to come in and look at the accounts payable, by all means, there's a drawer full of all of the accounts payable.
So there's no computerized,
We
Nothing is
We scan
computerized.
them in, yes, so that we have those documents, because we have to keep the paper form for 3 years.
and so those drawers are open to, if we want to come in and look at them.
Yeah.
You have to, I don't know, let me make sure, I think you might have to put a request in to see them, but it should be granted to you, you know, but it has to be a formal or written request to view, and you have to be very specific. If you want to see AP report of the accounts, yes, you can see that. You know, you have to, but you can't just walk in and say, oh, look what's in this file.
You know what statute that says that is? Because she's doing Cora the way that I see the statutes to say down in the Register of Deeds, and we're not doing it here. Because I put in a request on the 15th of this month to get that paper that says the 20 people that actually registered in the Lawrence precinct, or voted, sorry, in the last election. And this letter, okay, dear Bryn, this letter is response to your open records request, which was received by this office on August 15, 2022. The request is currently under review, and the records, if permitted, will follow in a timely fashion. I anticipate having the requested documents to you by Friday, August 26th. Thank you, Ashley Manis. Okay, I was here August 25th, so I thought, oh, I'll just go in and see if she's got it. Wasn't here. She was gone. Went in Friday, she wasn't here. And she was gone.
What day was that?
I went in
I tore it off there, whether
yesterday.
it is.
26th was, Friday was the 26th, Thursday was the 25th.
And so then I went in Monday, or Tuesday, and I asked Mrs. Parrish if I could have that document, and she told me that that something had glitched and that it wouldn't upload, and so they had to send it to the state to fix it, to bring it back so that we could have it.
Could be.
It is. So there's a file that uploads, the voting credit from every election. and something happened in the initial upload. Well, now it had to go to the state, we had to wait for the state, there's a form that has to be filled out. She talked to the state yesterday, we're still waiting on the form. Once that form is signed, we'll submit it, but we have to get the form first, which we don't have yet. As soon as we get that, the state then can clear out what was done initially, and then we have 2 people on call with the programming to see what happened, so we can get it uploaded. We don't have those, there's no spreadsheet, there's no report, nothing that can be ran until that's done with the state. That's what we're waiting on.
And so what you're telling us that Sherman County, Kansas does not have our election, we do not have that information in our, what do you call it?
Possession.
Possession at this point in time. It's at the state level.
We have I don't know how it works, like it has to be uploaded to our election system before we can run a report. Otherwise, it's off of what we've done, you know, through the elections, like people coming in, you know, they check in on our poll pads. So there is something that talks to the computer that is later uploaded. And that's where something is happening. Something has glitched in that system.
And how long ago did that happen?
When she initially tried to upload it. I don't know what day that was.
See, this is kind of non-productive here because the lady that needs to be answering the questions isn't here. This is absolutely non-productive. We've got other stuff, business to take care of. If she was here, she's got to answer your questions.
Okay.
But it's time sensitive.
The other question I do have, and maybe you can answer this, who's the FOI person?
Ashley.
It is Ashley. Okay.
So, Ms. Quinder, all quarter requests go through Ashley, and, you know, there's a form for the county. By statute, the county is required to respond within 3 days. The letter you got is the typical response that every county I work with sends. We've received it, we're looking at it, you'll be notified whether it's accepted or denied. And it sounds like that's what she's done, and it sounds like she's working on it. If you have a complaint about your quarter request, which I understand you came into my office and there was a miscommunication, because a complaint can be provided to my office or to the Attorney General's office. If you make the complaint to the Attorney General's office, you can go to his website, and there is a form, online form that you can fill out. I have printed out essentially that online form, and all you would have to do is provide something in writing that contains substantially all that information, okay? And then if it, whether it goes to the AG's office or myself, we essentially go and talk to the FOI and ask, you know, where are you at with this? Why hasn't it been done? And then an explanation is provided to you. If there wasn't, the word's escaping my mind, but a mistake, an error, or whatever as to why that wasn't done, then there's a process that goes on after that. Essentially, they're reminded of what their core responsibilities are, et cetera. Every document within the county is subject to open records, but not every document is disclosable. And so there is a list of exceptions, and I can't recall the statute off the top of my head, but there's, I don't know, 8 pages worth of exceptions, you know, about personal employee information, things like that would be denied. There are chances that portions of a quarter request can be granted and portions of it could be denied. So that's kind of the process. So if you're unsatisfied with the explanation that Maria was at least able to provide, you're more than welcome to make a complaint to my office or to the Attorney General's office. Okay.
Thank you.
And I feel your pain on the wait, you know, it's like I'm waiting on some pretty important stuff myself, and it's driving me nuts. But I just gotta keep it cool, you know, that's all I can do. I get it.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, they got onto the agenda not knowing that
Ashley will
Ashley
be here.
will be here.
Yeah, it's
and I don't know.
Unfortunate.
It's a commission meeting, so I feel like I am to address the 3 of you and not necessarily the clerk or the deputy clerk.
The problem is that we can only do so much. We don't run the clerk. You know, that's what's important.
And so
guys.
are these discussions that need to be held with
100%.
in the clerk's office with the
Well,
clerk?
I'm not saying you can't do it in an open forum like this, but you know, if you want to make an appointment with her and discuss it, ultimately, it's her show. She runs the elections.
I think knowing that
Yeah,
you
that's-
guys agreed to the
The only
100%
thing you
recount,
have,
wasn't it?
what we agreed to it as citizens, basically.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we're okay with it. The thing you gotta remember is, and it's a fine line, and this is just my opinion, it's okay to believe what you believe. I respect that. But when it's not okay for you to insist that everybody else believe what you believe. That's where the line gets crossed. And you know how I'm not gonna convince you guys to believe different, but you're trying to convince me to believe different. So the harder I get pushed, the farther away from the table I usually wanna be. That's just me. I'm not speaking for these guys. That's
Well,
just me.
And that's kind of how I feel about the
I'm nobody's
100%
boy.
count.
I do my own thing.
They agreed to do it. However, the group that was doing it agreed that
to
they were
stop.
done that night.
They agreed to stop.
And actually give them that option. So,
But I guess I still, and, who is it Rochelle?
Rochelle.
Sorry, but just mentioned, you know, that she had done it before with about that same many people, so my assumption is back to there weren't enough people to count 1,800 ballots if they wanted to get it done, especially that day.
so the
Well,
problem
If
would
they
be,
wouldn't have had to go through the one set of ballots 6 times, they could have got through the others.
Could they? I don't know. I mean,
Well,
what did
you
they do? They did Ward 4, is that what I understood that they did, or they did one ward and?
I wasn't
but,
present, I don't know.
That's just my, you know, it doesn't look like there was ever the intent to count every ballot if there was only 6 people. If, like I say, thinking every township had 3 and whatever Goodland had, it just didn't look like the intent was there from the get-go.
I think it was. I mean,
I think it was a lesson learned.
Well, maybe, but and I think we're maybe dealing with, well, I don't know, a younger generation that hasn't been through the hand counts, that don't know.
I get it.
Well, that's exactly right. Well, you know, we've mechanized up. We've gone to the ballot machines that have made our voting process a simpler one and a quicker one. And you know, it's no different than any of the other technologies around there, you know.
understand that. But I guess that was just my.
Thank
I think there's guys now that are out in the field, and if the GPS quits, they shut down. They forgot how to
Switch to a
drive the
different
tractor.
tower.
It's like, come on, guys.
Well, the GPS,
Yeah.
markers, so GPS shuts down.
You don't wanna know what I said, when I found out that we were getting that.
okay. Patty, you'll be up next as soon as Steve gets back from a little break there.
I might say real quick, I was not putting down anybody. I'm just, the intent for numbers, you know, to count that many ballots is questionable to me. So,
It's not that hard of a process, you're just tallying, so I mean, normally, my intent, I thought I was gonna count them all that day when I went into it, so. Just speaking for myself, I didn't have an intent to go in there and say, I'm not doing this.
So if there was no human error, it'd be easy to count them. But when somebody makes a mistake and then you can't agree, then you gotta go back and keep recounting them till you find who made the mistake, to where you come out with a consensus, this is correct.
that's why lots of people seems like kind of a necessity. Yeah, did you say that you worked on a group of maybe 6 that counted 1,200 ballots or something?
Well, the elections I've helped here, we've just done the one per precinct, we haven't done every ballot. And I don't know how many we had helping, honestly. And when I helped 20 years ago, it's a small county, I don't know how many votes they had, honestly. But, and I don't know if we counted, what I helped with was the entire county or just the city of Chester, so.
What you're saying is Russia didn't send one platoon in to invade the Ukraine.
I thought it was doable that day, but when you're recounting 300-some ballots 6 times, and it took 22 hours just to do that. And I think that's what he's saying, that there should have been double that people or triple that people, so that it wouldn't have taken that, knowing that that can happen.
We never could anticipate that it would have happened.
But Ashley can, yeah. Mrs. Smith, yes.
But if she hasn't had that happen, it's easy to see hindsight's 20/20.
And you're talking about age, us remembering the hand counting. Gotta remember, how old is Ashley, 30?
Right.
I mean, she's,
yeah.
how would she know?
Yeah, really.
You know, so.
So that's probably the youngest person there.
All right, Patty, come on up.
Well, I think we've already been told that everything that I'm going to say is nonsensical at this point because the election commissioner is not here. But since I've already done it and I'm on the agenda, I guess I'll just go through it. I just wanted to tell you all that we started the Cora process like on 3/23/27, and it was off and on, sent to the state, do a new form, keep it going, and we just kept going. So it was the 6th and 9th of 22 when we received most of the information back on the Coras that we were asking for. However, there was one that the state said that only the county had, and that it was what was that, Roberta? You remember? It was the one that gave us numbers off of the specific machines. Well, we never did receive that. But we did get, she did bring in ES&S to tell us all about everything that was going on. And I can tell you I wasn't very impressed because those people kept saying so many things as if everything that we believed or had heard or had investigated was just not true and couldn't possibly have happened. However, if any of you took time to, I watched 2 full days of frankspeech.com, and it was a moment of truth. Every session, they were proven wrong. The election machine people have been taken to task over and over and over, but they have managed to go around it. They were even called to task in Venezuela, ES&S, because they had something to do with it, with that machine and that. So I went and looked up a book that had been put out, and it's called blackboxvoting.com. And I read a lot of it. And this machine business has been essentially a travesty for years. And they have managed to buy up new machine companies, pull things together, get somebody else to overlook them, and just keep going. But at this session, it showed that every county in this nation had voter fraud. Every county. We saw the Kansas guy get up and talk about it. And they told what had happened and what was going on. And then they also told in each of these sessions the blockers, the things where when you ask for certain things, it took forever to get them back, and you went past the deadlines and nothing ever happened. And you know, for us, we have seen exactly that. here. It's like we have something to hide. If we didn't have anything to hide, why wouldn't we do the complete check on it all? And one of the things in that black box voting, and I don't know if I can't do it that well, but anyway, one of the gentlemen brought in this black box, and he said, I paid thousands and thousands of dollars for this, and inside of it is all of my valuables. It's what is going to happen to my children and my grandchildren and everything from my nation. But even though I paid thousands of dollars for it, I cannot open it. I have no way of getting into it. I have to have the machine people, and then they bring in technologists who may not even be a citizen, who have no obligation to the United States of America, and they are the only ones that can get in and do anything inside of it. I don't know about you, but I don't think I'd like to pay millions of dollars for a machine to keep me safe in my voting that I can't even look at or get into. And that every time we put in for something, we get a letter, fill out the new form. The first form we filled out looked exactly like the second form we had to fill out, but it had to be filled out another time from here, and then it just kept going. Anyway, that's just, guys, if you're accusing us of trying to make you believe what we believe, it might be well if you all would look at what we have seen for evidence. And the people that are in that frank speech thing, they are the most brilliant technology people in the nation. Joe Hunter Pulitzer has the actual patents that run all the machines. And when he went in and started looking at it, it was very, very interesting. And so, you know, we're not a bunch of dummies that are trying to be nasty to you. We just want our county to be faithful in our elections because it's very important. And you may not think it's so important at the county level, but it really is. It really has it just goes all the way up. The federal government with these election machines can do anything they want by programming those machines. And nobody can look at it except somebody that's actually unelected and doesn't know what they're doing. And even Ashley, who is elected and is running it, she can't get inside. So I think she is being used in some ways in that situation. But anyway, consequently, I just wanted to go ahead and tell you that we are not, you know, it's not a vendetta against anybody here or against Ashley. We really want to see that our elections are fair. And this idea that, you know, hand counting them, oh, there can be errors. Well, excuse me. The errors from the machines amount to 1 billion times more. Mail-in ballots, and some of the information that you can see they have it up and they're showing how the voting is going. Well, here's this candidate, and here's this candidate, and then here's the mail-in ballots, and the mail-in ballots. Pretty soon they're out. Mail-in ballots are not. It's like they go backwards Have you ever seen that happen? Did people go in and take their votes back? I'm not kidding you. You guys, if you really want to know something, you need to look at the information that's out there. And the other thing is, we have put in a Cora for the cast vote records. And I don't know, is that the same situation with, because we haven't received any cast vote records from our Cora.
You will have to talk to Ashley.
Mm-hmm. It's hard to talk to Ashley when she's not here all the time lately. And then like the 22 months after the 2020 election is coming up on September 3rd. We shall get rid of all the information. We shall get rid of the ballots. I don't think that's right. Particularly when we can't even talk to our election officer over and over again.
28 months.
However.
28 months, you guys can fix that.
Well, we started in March, and it hasn't happened yet.
I'm talking about the next election.
You can even change some of it in 2
What?
months.
It's never too late.
Well, shouldn't be. I would like to see a resolution that you all would not destroy the 2020 election ballots until our Coras are answered.
The Attorney General's already set the precedents, and we cannot do that.
The statute is very clear. It says
You
they
guys need to
shall
be
be
in
destroyed.
Topeka. That's where you need to be.
What?
Haven't you noticed how we're governed by statutes? You need to be in Topeka, the legislature. How would you feel if we could get a couple of those people in a meeting coming up?
We try, anyway, I'm gonna give you all the places that we have gotten our information. And you don't need to come back to another meeting and have not looked at, and this is for Ashley, not looked at what we have seen and what we know is going on. And the man who has all the patents on the machines says there's no way they can be fixed because the machines do what they're told to do. And that's what has happened. And the 2022 election is still not settled. And we are we went to Awaken America thing, and General Flynn was there, and he asked us all, will you please go back into your local communities and get involved and make sure that everybody is honoring the veterans who died for the liberty of this country. If we don't fix these elections, we don't have a country, because we're at that point. It's at the tipping point, guys, and you have some opportunities to be part of at least showing up to try to see what's going on. You all were over all of this stuff with the COVID. I just watched on Epoch Times this morning, and they put out that cancer is up 143,000% since the jabs. Now you're going to find out that you guys saying, oh, we should give those things to our children is a disaster. All the truth is coming out. You are responsible.
I've never said that.
We are asking you. Well, you went along with the COVID. You went along with telling everybody that the kids in the schools had to be masked and shots was a good thing. You figure out what has happened in the shutting down of our schools, in the pushing of vaccines.
We never pushed vaccines. We left that up to the school board.
I know.
We never once, as a county commissioner, forced anybody to wear a mask or take a shot.
Aren't you over what the whole community is doing?
No. We can't force a school board to do something.
Mm-hmm.
That's an elected position.
Okay, well, we've been to the school board too, and they paid no attention to us, and we gave them every bit of information, pages and pages about the masking and everything, and how detrimental it was to our children. And you know what it looks like? It looks like all the money that was given out by the government to the county, to the school boards, and to the hospital was what we went by. And in doing it, there have been a lot of people die. There are a lot of families that are in a million miles of hurt. I have a daughter-in-law who has a father who was never ill before. Took the jabs and he has stage 4 leukemia all of a sudden. That's not a coincidence, people. Go look at Epoch Times. Look at all those things that I've shown you, and then come back and tell me that you don't think we are just trying to save our community and everybody in it.
Lisa?
About the statute that you mentioned real quick, the statute that.
The Attorney General.
Those-
The destruction of the,
Right, yeah.
it would be the Attorney General's opinion. Is that correct?
Thank you.
To destroy the ballots 28 months after.
There's a specific statute as to the destruction of ballots, and I think it's 20 months, 22 months.
22.
whatever. But it says that at that point in time, they shall be destroyed.
It says
It
they
says
shall be
shall.
destroyed, or does it?
Says shall.
It doesn't say they can't be destroyed. They can't be destroyed until that point. It says,
It
it
does
actually
say-
has a
At that
destruction
point,
point.
at that point, they're to be destroyed.
When did that statute, do you know, when that was?
Why is that
Was
so
it just
important?
made after 2020?
If everything's great,
Because we
why
had
is that
that
so
for
important?
I don't know, I didn't write the statute,
Yeah, I
I didn't
know.
pass it,
Yeah.
I just interpreted it.
You interpret it and have to
And the
carry
word
it out.
shall is very specific, and very clear.
Because I thought they said early on that we still have ballots from way back when in the historical archives? Is that true or not true?
Can't answer it.
Okay.
Actually, at
Sorry.
first said that they kept them 4 years. She
Oh,
said
you
that
might have
for
been
4 years.
mistaken too.
Just curious. Thank you.
Hi.
Good morning.
All right, so I'm here, just wanted to give you guys an update on some housing and kind of the overall plan that we're going with, to kind of help with the housing issue and the low stock that we have in the community. So we are applying for the moderate income housing, application. It's due September 30th, and we had our last meeting for housing committee was last Tuesday.
Last Tuesday.
Yep, and so we had all of our documents ready to go for the first initial set, and we sent those off to the Northwest Planning Commission to start that, and we're just kind of fine toothing all that stuff, and Justine and I talked on, Friday I think it was, to make sure we were good to go, and at this point we're good and everything's in the works on that part. So I was actually coming to talk with you guys, so I know that, and this is just an opportunity I saw, and I thought, well, let's come chat about it. So I did confirm that with Ashley and with the appraiser's office that county owns lot 5, 6, and 7 up there on that screen, and it's by the hospital, just north of the hospital. And so I was kind of just seeing what the thought, or what, I know 5 and 6 are for the helicopter pad, but I didn't know if there was plans or if there was a purpose that lot 7 was, or that parcel 7 was still vacant, or if was there potentially plans for the future use of it. I guess I'm coming today to see if that would be a potential parcel for our land bank that we are creating with this application and the incentive we're trying to push forward for potential housing. We've been working and talking with Wardcraft, and we have confirmed with them that it's 12 to 14 months once you put in your initial conversation and project in with them. And with the basement, 1,200 square feet, I think it was like around 200,000, between the 200,000, 250,000.
That's for the basement and the house.
Yeah. And so they do all the dirt work, the foundation, all of that stuff. And so just south of the hospital on Sherman, the city was deeded a property that was condemned, and they now have site control of it. And so that's one of the first lots in the bank that we have, and we're starting with that lot. But as we submit this application, we're trying to look for the future and kind of what the next process is in building that up. Our hope with building this land bank is we'll be able to have this property in there, and we'll be able to build homes on it. And as we sell them, that money will go back into the pot to continue to build. Our hope is also that with all the vacant lots we have in the community, we'll be able to offer an incentive to developers who want to build to help build our stock here, because we have a lot of vacant lots in the community that are just sitting. They have utilities to them, so it's really like I call it revive, recycle, and reuse. There's no sense in building something brand new, a big development yet, when we have all these parcels that are in clusters or in the same neighborhood that could help clean up or add housing to that neighborhood. So I just wanted to come and chat and see if that might be a potential parcel that we might be able to put into the bank eventually, or if there's other allocations for it.
As far as I know, there's not.
That's with me. I don't know. I would think that we would want to at least talk with the hospital board or the hospital administrator to see if they have some plan that we don't know about.
Okay.
And that would be my first step. Mr. Lovelace will be here next on the 12th
Okay.
to talk, and we could ask him about that at that time, but I think.
Are you thinking 2 houses on that lot 7?
Yeah, so depending on how we would have it surveyed for sure and see what the best layout would be. I know in talking with Steve, he said, the helicopter pad, Ian, my brother, lives on the house on the other side, so they get that action all the time when it lands and stuff. And so Steve was saying that, they have to have both because the tail of the helicopter, and you have to block off all the roads and sites and entries to that. So I knew that those 2 were out, but I just didn't know what the allocation was for lot 7. And kind of the idea with this whole plan for this land bank is to, like I said, help revive neighborhoods by using the empty lots that are there. And I think I've been talking with a lot of the contacts at the state through the housing program and resource center, and they like the idea of how we're going about this. Instead of creating a new development on another big piece of land, we're using what we already have, and it's a different approach to the MIH. So I think that our application would really have a good shot if we can kind of get this first one rolling and have potential lineups. I know that Kent and Jeff from the city, they did go around and kind of surveyed the whole city limits of how many lots, and there's quite a few empty lots that aren't in their possession, but it's just, our hope would be that in the future that if people didn't have a purpose for that, they would be able to put it into the land bank. So it could be developed, or it could be a part of the incentive. So
A lot of those older lots in the old part of town, they're kind of long, narrow lots. I mean, it would take maybe a special type of 2-story house or something in there.
And that's a great thing with Wardcraft. I'm talking with them, is they said that they would be able to create or design something with this that would fit that niche for that type of house that we're looking for. So the nice thing is that they're flexible and they're willing to work with us, and so that's been a good partnership that we've been trying to build, so that we're at least on that marking of, hey, I know who I'm talking to. It's not some stranger just calling.
I go back to the same thing we talked about at the Elks. If there were more duplex type places, I know a lot of elderly people would put their houses up for sale in a minute if they had a place to go.
Yeah, well, and I know it goes back to that whole conversation when we did the housing assessment with Amy Hawsey from RDG. She was saying the empty nester phase, where they don't leave their house, but they don't want to take care of the lawn and all that. They would go somewhere where they have their freedom. It's apartments,
And
but
that would free up
it's
more
HOA
houses.
and everything. So I know that's one of the projects we're looking at in the future. But we felt like this was the low-hanging fruit and kind of an immediate win with all these lots that have the infrastructure. Because with the duplex, you would need you wouldn't want to build something that would only allow those 2 homes or whatever in that area. I mean, potentially you'd want a bigger, but we would hope that with the MIH, it helps with infrastructure cost. And then also there is the second part to that, which helps with second-story infrastructure, so Main Street. So our hope is that if we can get this one, where they call it horizontal infrastructure, yes, horizontal, we could potentially go back in later on in the future and apply for the vertical and kind of help revive some of those apartments up above the businesses on Main.
What's the status on those lots west of the old junior high?
I believe they've been purchased. I believe, from my understanding, that the individual who bought them was just going to build homes, but it hasn't been surveyed or platted or anything, and so it's one big lot. It is residential, and I know that they would have to do a lot of work to get alleyway and all of that in there. So I do believe that was her plan originally. I don't know where that stands right now, though, because I think it was more than she realized had to be done with that area.
Maybe that would be worth talking to them about.
What's the time frame? I mean, are you looking at a limited time to get something back to Northwest Kansas Planning Development to do?
Well, just kind of letting them know we're having the conversation. We have sent the list that the city provided, just saying these are the lots that are available. We don't have site control, but our hope is that with this, we can help turn around some of these neighborhoods that have 6 empty lots where you could have homes on them and have that stock restored, and hopefully encourage those around them to sustain and maintain their homes, so we don't get back into this predicament where we're in, where we have no housing, or it's really, the housing is worn out and you have to put more money into it than what it's actually worth at the time. So this was kind of the, like I said, the low-hanging fruit that we thought would kind of be the initial starter to that.
So Mr. Lovelace will be in here at 9 on the 12th.
Okay.
And their board meeting is tonight. Maybe we should reach out to him today and have him talk to the
I'll
board
go-
tonight.
Talk to the board tonight.
I will go talk to him
Okay.
after this meeting,
And that way he can have information by the
Right.
12th, works
Okay.
probably.
And if I need to come to it, please let me know. I think my last meeting is at 4:30, so.
okay, I'll let you know if we,
Okay.
you know,
Okay.
Perfect, awesome. That's all I wanted to touch base on and let you guys know that we are applying for that.
touch a little base on this Woodcraft. They've got a main layout thing, and they're talking about just putting it on a cement slab, but they're open-minded to the fact of pouring a basement. You know, because you can double your square footage with not much more expense. If you're gonna lay a slab there, you can put a stem wall there and a slab, and you know, so I think they're open to some plans and ideas of the thing, which I appreciated a lot.
I like the idea of Wordcraft a lot better than stick building. We know what a disaster the 2 homes over by the West School turned out to be with the stick building project. That was.
Well, and I did confirm that with several of the banks in the area that the WordCraft homes do qualify for financing. So that's,
Okay.
we wanted to make sure that they worked with the banks that were already in the community, so that it was a possibility for those purchasing the homes to have that opportunity. Because there are some regulations that some banks do not support through different financing channels. And so we want to make sure that it kind of all was cohesive and an easier process than having
Sure.
to hunt someone down that would do that. So,
Okay, very good.
Sounds good.
all right, that's all I have today.
All right.
Awesome, thanks
Appreciate it,
guys.
you bet.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of your day.
Okay, thank you.
Do we? Okay, big move. I didn't see your name there earlier. Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So recently, you should have received a letter from Kansas Department of Revenue Property Valuation Division, or as we call them, PVD,
Yep.
telling you how we did for our 2021 final compliance. This is actually something you don't get. You just get the letter saying,
Right.
yes, we're doing good, or no, we're not. And this is our actual report card, grade card. So they break our compliance up into 2 sections, statistical and procedural. The statistical comes from sales. So when someone buys a property, we determine if it's open market or if it was a family sale or something other kind of transaction. And they take the appraised value divided by the sale price to get a ratio. And so on residential and commercial are the 2 categories that they look at for compliance. And so it'll show you where we're at on statistical. So, and then the procedural is, we have all these categories. We have lots of statutes we have to follow and regulations and directives telling us, you know, what we have to do to meet the requirements of the state. And so if you go to the second page, to make long story short, is we got 88 out of a possible 88, so we got 100%. So
Good.
Just wanna let you know we're doing our job.
Were you surprised?
Well, you know, with
You
the
kinda
market.
had some doubts. On
Well, the way the
something.
market's going, I mean, our ratio on residential, we're at 90.3%. We want to be 90 to 110, so we
Okay.
want to be within 10% of sale price, but as it's a seller's market, it's getting harder and harder to meet that.
Yep.
Commercial, we're actually at 81%, but on commercial, where we actually only had 2 sales that were valid sales in 2021, so they used 4 sales from a previous year. But 6 sales they looked at. So on that, they look at the range of those 6 sales of the ratio. So if you look at those 6 sales, what it's basically saying is the values were 20% too low compared to the sale price.
Okay.
When you have a couple hundred commercial properties and you have 6 that sold, which could have been any type of, category, it gets really, and, commercial becomes a little tougher because a lot of times if you're buying a going business, you're looking at an income stream. You're not looking at, well, we want to know, what is the real estate worth? What is the personal property worth? What's the business worth? And, we want to know all the facets where if you're looking at it from an income approach, you may not have all those numbers we need. So it gets a little bit tricky. We want to make sure when we're valuing commercial, we're not including like a business and the personal property per se. But yeah, and just to give you kind of an update since I'm here on what our office is doing, we're still working on reinspection, which is where we go out once every 6 years and measure. So I think we still have a couple hundred parcels to go and then complete that phase for this year. At the same time, we're working on building permits and then sales. So right now, I mean, probably in the last 18 months, we've had the most sales we've ever had in this county. So we have to go out on all of those and just kind of like a reinspection, see what the property's like at the time of sale. And, a lot of times on reinspection, especially on farmsteads where there's a lot of ag buildings, when we're only there every 6 years, and, Kansas weather, a lot of times the physical condition has actually deteriorated that we didn't know. So, a lot of people think we're just going out there to raise their taxes. We're not looking at taxes at all. We're not looking at value at all. We're looking at our data. And we've had a couple of conversions in our software in the last couple years. We just had another one this summer, and our cost program is Marshall and Swift or CoreLogic, which is like same thing that an insurance company uses for replacement costs new. For some reason, it made assumptions on wall heights on buildings, and sometimes we'll go there and it's like, okay, this building's 10 foot, we have 16. So sometimes it's fixing data that was converted that we had no control over, so. But yeah, so.
Good job.
And human error, so I'm the first to say, I'm not perfect and I'm gonna screw up, so, sometimes we're looking at things and, it's 100 degrees outside, might have wrote a number and wasn't the right one or whatever, so.
Ink might have ran a little bit on that hot day and that
But,
6,
yeah.
that 0 went to 6.
Yep, and just, there's a lot of talk about open records requests. We get lots of those in our office. Our office is not one where someone can come in and just look at our files. Everything in our office is public information except for sales information and income and expense. So we mail out income and expense questionnaires every year to we always pick a type of business. So we may pick apartment owners one year. And they'll give us that information. That is not public information. So someone cannot see that information. People don't want to know what, they don't want their competitors to know maybe what they're renting properties for or whatever. And so that is never public. Sales, I always say with every statute and everything we do in our office, you do it this way, except. So sales are private information, except there's a list of people that can have them. Banks can have them, realtors, fee appraisers, and if you're someone who is contemplating an appeal, you can have sales of similar property. So if you come in and you own a house and you want all hotel motel sales, you can't have them. But our files have, sales on them, so we can't just let somebody come in and look at them. If somebody's want to look at something, we can redact what is not public, and which is kind of crazy. Your mortgage is public, but your sale isn't. Billy actually has, she's the one who, when someone files a deed, you have to file a sales validation questionnaire, and she keeps a copy. We keep a copy, and then we send those to the state every month, and then that's how they determine our statistical compliance. So she has those that are not public information also. So yeah, but we, my opinion is sales should be public to everybody, but that's a legislator thing, and with everything in our office, I mean, I agree with you guys 100%. You need to contact your legislators whenever you have issues. I try to keep you guys, whenever there's an issue coming up, try to let you guys know when to contact legislators, because me as county appraiser, when I contact them, I mean, we have great legislators, but when, you know, it doesn't hold as much weight as when it's somebody who is a voter or taxpayer. They don't see me as a voter and taxpayer, I guess, most of the
I
time.
don't know, seems how that works.
So, yeah.
I wished I would have thought and brought one of those new appraisals that I got in the mail, because I've had a lot of questions on that.
And those did not come from us.
Okay, I didn't think they did, but
No. So that was actually passed last year by legislators, and I just went to a CIC symposium last week, which is our vendor that does the software for the tax program. I don't know how many counties CIC has, but to format that form was over $120,000. And then I don't know what we paid to send that out, but it has the appraised value, your prior and your current.
Yep.
And then at the bottom, it shows you based on your taxes. And that form is about taxes, basically. So it's showing at the bottom what your taxes were last year, and then on the right, what the lower public hearings were. And then above that shows you if your budget stayed exactly the same based on the current values, where the mill levy would sit. And then the proposed is where everybody set their budgets, is what what you anticipate the taxes to be, is kind of how I read it.
Yep, okay.
So yeah, every single taxpayer got one of those. Even in Graham County, I have a lot of oil people that have called me who, if your personal property and oil, if your tax statement is under $5, you don't get a tax statement. So I've had a lot of people call me kind of panicking because, you know, they don't get a tax bill, and they're like, why am I getting this? So, but yeah, every single taxpayer got one of those.
Yeah, yeah. And what's crazy, every parcel gets it, they mailed it out. I mean.
Yep, every single parcel, yes.
Like
so we have
mine.
6,400 some real estate parcels, and I know how many oil and gas leases. We have a couple hundred oil and gas leases. But each owner. So, in Graham, I have a lease that has 241 owners. Each one of those got a statement showing what their value is.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
okay.
And oil and gas get a little confusing for people when they read those statements, because even though we're valuing as of January 1, 2022, we use prior year production to value that, or actually the last 2 years. And we use actual production, not sales, on oil. So I've had several people call saying, hey, you guys, you know, what are you basing these numbers off of? And I'll tell them, and they're like, well, based on my run checks, they didn't have that many barrels. Well, there are companies that have told me, and we get our information from the operator. So if you say November and December, they held on to those hoping the price would go up after January 1, we still look at it as production, even though they haven't sold the barrels yet. So the royalty owner will get their check, you know, after January 1. So it's kind of a time frame there, but January 1 is the date that we look at.
Okay.
So yeah.
Thank you.
So, and if you have a question about that form, I mean, that's a,
Well, I've
ask
just had-
Ashley about it. If you have a question about the value, then that's a question for me.
I've had a lot of people ask, and I told them, I said, I don't think you need to call Rochelle, because I'm pretty sure this is not from her office.
Yeah, if they have a question, we have had some people that, especially on heavy trucks, that those values went up a lot this year. It's kind of shocking to me how much they went up. A lot of people see the assessed value and they think that's the tax dollar. So that's people going, my taxes are going to be $8,000 this year. It's like, no, that's the assessed value.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's a very hard, and there's no phone number on the form.
No.
So I wish they would have
That's
let
clever.
us help with the form a little bit so that it was easier to read. And there's no totals on it, so, I mean, I wanna know what the total tax increase is gonna be. I don't necessarily care how much each entity is,
Yeah.
just on a personal note. But, they are a little hard to read. But no, if anybody has any questions about their value and they've called you, you tell them to call me because I can't help them if I don't hear from them.
Okay.
So,
Sounds good.
Okay.
and some people, it's just a matter of not knowing what it, means. So,
Right, right.
I
Okay.
wouldn't know if I didn't work here,
Yeah.
probably.
Right.
Question
Yeah.
for you on
Sure.
land values. When are those set each year? You know, like our irrigated ground, our dry land ground, and stuff like that. There's always a, well, what do they call it, trend
Yeah.
of, you know,
So ag land, which is it's kind of its own little animal, those values are set by the state each year as of January 1. And they're an 8-year average, but there's a lag of 2 years for them to gather the information. So the first year of the 8-year average is actually 10 years ago. And so they look at, it's an income approach, and K-State and the state of Kansas are the ones that work together to develop those values. Now, so we get, every year, we get a list of values per soil and by category: native grass, dry land, irrigation. Now, irrigation, also, we look at how much water is applied and what type. We look at what type of irrigation, if it's flood or center pivot, how deep is the well, and then how much water is being applied. So we get the water resources report, Division of
Yeah.
Water Resources, I think is the
Right.
report.
Yeah.
And it gives us 5 years of information, based on what was reported by the owner or the tenant
Right.
or whoever provided that information. It shows us the acre feet they used, how many acres, what crop, what system. And so we look at that 5 years, and we kind of do a 5-year average. We also look at the median to try to keep the number as low as possible.
right. Well,
So
that's, you
we
know,
try to be on the conservative side on that.
with the groundwater management district number 4 and being in the Lima program, you know, this year, there's a lot of irrigation wells shut off because they've ran out of water, as, not that they can't pump it, it's they can't afford to pump it, because
Yeah.
it's like $1,000 a day fine if you over pump. And then you can lose 2 years worth of rights to pump that water, and you have to let it sit dormant for 2 years. Well, when you're talking a 10-year curve, it's gonna take quite a while, but, you know, our water tables are drastically dropping. And this year with the
Yeah.
drought like it is, but it's gonna take another 10 years to.
Yeah, we see people using less water, and we have, on that report, it'll say if like you didn't water a certain year, and a lot of times it'll have a note of
Right.
mechanical issues, or I know there's like a bank that you can bank so much acre feet over 5 years, and if you used it all like in the 3 years, you can't use anymore in the
Right.
2 years or something. So yeah, that happens. Another important thing about CRP is CRP. CRP, while it's in the program, gets considered as dry land. FSA used to share their information when things went in the program and when it goes out. They do not share any information with us on that. So if you are somebody that's going out of the program and you're gonna turn it back to grass, then people need to let us know that, because otherwise it's dry land prices.
Still evaluated,
Yeah.
valued as a dry
Yeah,
land.
and we have had some people that have taken it out of the program, and, actually, I had someone in Rollins County, a guy inherited the property, and he came in my office just wanting to know what the person he inherited it from owned, and we gave him the information, and he's like, this hasn't been in CRP since 2008, and no one's ever told us that it wasn't in the program. And so I actually contacted the legislators and said, this is the reason why we need to get this information. You know, if you come in and say, hey, I let FSA know that they have my permission to give you information, then they'll give it to me. But if I call down there and say, hey, I need Rod's CRP information, it's not considered public information. So that is probably the one most frustrating thing is CRP. And when you look at it, when you go out there, You know, it still looks like CRP if it's left as grass, since
Yeah.
we don't know if it's in the program or not.
Yeah.
And we try to ask people when they come in about it, but, you know, there's a lot of people that don't live in the county and.
Sure.
That own the properties, yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, well,
Anything else?
nope.
Okay,
Thank you.
Good work.
Good job. Good report. Okay. All right.
Follow up on the yellow freight property. I've reached out to them on a couple of occasions. We've gotten no response. I will continue to do so, and once I know something, you will know something. The other item is the engagement agreement and terms with Forvis for the audit. We received the engagement letter and the scope of practices and the phase 1 details on the 16th of August. That was reviewed by me on the 17th, and then a synopsis with my comments were sent out to the three of you with the disclosure, this is for your information only, not to respond to the email. I've talked to all three of you separately because I had asked for any comments you may have before I reach out to Forvis. There were some substantive issues or questions that we needed Forvis to clarify. But primarily there were a handful of legal term issues that I had. For instance, they wanted us to hold them harmless for any of their negligence in any of their reporting, which if they're negligent, they're liable. So I've asked that that be removed. Regardless of what state statute of limitations allowed for, they wanted us to waive that and agree that it was a 1-year statute of limitations from the date that we received the report. Obviously, taking into account the what ifs, it may be a year before you realize that there was an issue that caused other issues. So I've asked that they eliminate that and requested that state statute of limitations apply. They've asked that we waive right to a jury trial should any litigation happen. So those are just a brief overview of some of the concerns I had. I've been having communication with Forvis. It took them some time to initially respond. It appears as though they have passed the substantive questions to their upper management and the legal questions to their legal team. And one other big issue was they wanted the state of Texas law to apply instead of Kansas.
Right.
So to me, the legal questions or my request of changes need to be addressed by Forvis first before we get into the substantive, because I can't in good conscience sit here and recommend to the three of you to sign something that's essentially waiving the county statutory abilities should an issue arise.
Okay.
So if they're not willing to budge on some of those key items, I can't recommend that you sign it. Obviously, the ultimate decision will be up to the three of you.
Sure.
But that's where we are with that. I heard from Julia Mast again this morning. She addressed some of the substantive questions that we had, clarifying some of the items within, which I've had a chance to briefly review. Some of it makes sense, some of it doesn't. I'm going to be talking to her again for some further clarification. But as soon as I hear back from their legal department, we'll discuss this again, and I'm hoping that we can come to an agreement, they'll revise it, and we can get this thing signed and moving forward.
Okay.
The whole problem with that letter is that it was written by an attorney.
Yeah.
There's the problem.
Attorneys have the occasion to mess things up. That's all.
And then
Okay.
you gotta hire another one to fix it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Brett.
Thank you, Brett.
What else you got?
Smoky Gardens lease.
What are we leasing? Oh,
This is pursuant to that resolution we already have. So basically, they're just gonna go down there and have a wedding. But I mean, they really can't lease the area, but we're just notified that there will be a group
Oh,
down
okay.
there. Which by resolution, we had that, but we did have to be notified that there's gonna be a large group down there, so.
right.
I would make a motion that we accept that letter of notification for that wedding.
Resolution 15-12.
Yep.
I'll second that.
Been moved and seconded, we approve the resolution 15-12 to allow a wedding on September 10th at the Smoky Gardens. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion passed. All signed.
Our board minutes.
So they're gonna spend $5,800 on 6 used radios. Where are we at with that? All those new radios and stuff we
Well,
get,
that's
so
what I
everybody can communicate. I mean,
I need to ask Brian that.
We
If
did a
this is-
partial payment on part of the equipment.
I know, but are we purchasing six used radios we may not need? I mean, that $420,000 was to buy all of these radios and have that repeater up, so everybody could communicate in case of a fire, a tornado, or so I guess we need to know.
What?
Is this gonna blend with that?
Oh, yeah, part of the ARPA.
I mean, well, we don't wanna buy 6 used radios that's gonna be obsolete when that other system's up. If this is not working with that system,
compatible
why
to
would
it.
we spend $5,800 to buy those? So I'm
I
sure
will-
Brian's aware of it. He's the one that brought the radios to the table, but I mean, it's just a question we probably should ask.
I will go ask him
Okay,
of that.
all right.
Signatures needed for budget.
What was that, Maria?
So it's signatures that are needed for the budget.
Oh, okay.
This is for the chairman. You may not be able to answer this, Maria, but I believe that our budget from last year went up approximately 200,000 over last year, if I remember right. Which, considering fuel price and everything for the entire county to go up 200,000, just wages alone, I mean, I don't think we're too far out of line. But I might be wrong on that number. Notice of annual meeting, October 17th. This is state meeting then down there. So, I talked to Harvey Swigert. He'll be coming in here in January.
Mhm.
He was wondering, and I don't know if you guys are planning on going to the state meeting.
I have no idea yet.
He was wondering about going down this year and getting oriented, and we did that with Ken Clem years ago. I don't
I
think.
went once.
Yeah, I had it. So you kind of get to know commissioners, surrounding areas, get an idea what you're supposed to be doing when you take office in January.
Yep.
But we would have to approve, and we can talk about that a little bit later, but we'd have to approve the expenses for him to go down. But
Oh, okay.
I was not planning on going this year, but I told him if he did want to go and we approved that, I would go with him to introduce him to a lot of people, get him into the right workshops, and make sure he's up to speed when he takes office in January.
That'll be good.
So that's what this letter is about.
Let's get kind of a review here of our joint meeting on the animal control operation agreement. I think it would be beneficial to know, since it's been such a long time since he's put in for a raise,
Been like 12 years, hasn't it?
This comes out to be about 1% a year.
Right.
Or a little less.
Mhm.
What other revenue streams does she have, and what kind of raises is she getting from those revenue streams?
Yeah, I don't know. Can't answer that.
I mean, if that's some information we could get. Because they said she was being paid, you know, by other entities.
Okay.
So, and, you know, it's hard to come and ask for a raise after our budgets are done.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, so I think we need to see that. If we could get that from.
So she didn't have this
Kathy.
plugged into the budget earlier?
Well, what's this actually coming out of? There's just a special line item for this, or is this coming out of the gen for animal control?
The main contract, we only pay 30% of the entire contract that they're getting, but that it increases us from $600 a month to $900 a month is
Right.
what. But like we had spoken at the meeting, waiting 10 years or 12 years to come up with this, I understand her end of it, that, you know, prices have raised, but also.
They've been doing that.
Yeah.
They've been raising, you know.
Yeah.
It's like, come in and talk to us,
Yeah,
you know.
but we can't, after our budget, it's gonna be difficult to
Right.
increase.
Yes.
One thing you guys need to be aware of on that, it will actually be a two-step process. Not only will you have to have a new contract with her, we're gonna have to do a new interlocal agreement to be sent off to the AG's office, because for whatever reason, that interlocal agreement had the specifics of what she was to be paid. So rather than just referencing the
Yep.
ability of the county and the city to enter into a contract for animal control, it specified the $27,000 or whatever it was.
Yep, that's
And
what it
so
was.
it's gonna take some time.
Okay.
Okay, well, I
Okay.
appreciate that.
Comes out of the gen.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I think it'd be good to have a little more information to see.
Yeah.
See what all's going on. I mean, she could be getting a 5% raise from somebody else, you know, for some other, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not saying she's wrong, I'm just saying we don't know.
My apologies for not being at that meeting. I did get the email. I was gonna try to blame it on old age, but Steve's older than me and he made it, so. But
Yeah.
I thought of it about an hour after the meeting was over, and I was a little late, so anyhow, I'm sorry I didn't make that.
We'll hold it against you, and you do have to buy the donuts next time.
Okay.
Now, what did we say we were gonna look into on the tax, the question?
Sales tax question?
Yeah. We said we'd discuss it.
You're confirming, what is it, 64 to 66 or 65 to 66?
Oh, on the roads?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And Ashley, I think, was gonna talk to Rod about that, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, item I, County Road 5 from County Road 65 to 66.
Yep.
But it was asked, are we gonna do 64 where there's already,
The other change was that I stated we needed to add this alley and the jail parking lot because it wasn't specified in here. Now, I think it could probably be slipped in there, but I think it's neater and cleaner to just to get it in there as a project.
because she said she needed a minimum of a week and a half to get it in.
No,
and get-
no later than next Wednesday,
Yeah.
I think, for her to get it to Gilmore Bell, for them to make the correction.
Okay.
Okay. I think that's all it was on here.
Yeah.
Anything else exciting happening at that meeting?
Not really.
No.
That was 2 issues, and
Okay.
Other than that, I mean, I think this thing will be ready to go, but we just have to wait for the changes.
I'm gonna write these dates down.
If I recall, Rod, I think the other issue was on the city side.
Yeah.
They were gonna talk about it either prior to or at their next meeting about how they wanted to word it. Because right now, their focus is on 8th Street, and if funds were available in
Caldwell.
But they questioned, well, what if
we have fun.
what if something else came up in
Yeah.
the meantime? So I think they were going to discuss the wording that they wanted.
Yeah.
Gilmore Bell to.
Some of them were in favor of giving a little leeway, and some not. So felt that they be very specific.
We need to make sure the word gets out before that takes place, that this is not raising the sales tax, it's continuing it.
Continuing the sales
Right.
tax.
So that people don't
Very important.
misunderstand that we're trying to raise sales tax another penny, we just want it
The
to continue.
last sheet on this needs all three commissioner signatures.
Okay. Yeah, I think on this, on the Forbes contract or letter agreement, okay, once we get all the legal issues settled, as far as their procedural stuff, you know, it may not make sense to us, but this is what they do. I mean, I've been sitting thinking about this, and like I said, I did visit with Mr. Lloyd for a time, and you know, what makes sense to us doesn't make sense to them, and vice versa. So I don't know that we're in any position to question their procedures.
If I recall, most of our questions were clarifying
Right.
what their description of procedure
Yeah,
was.
exactly. Yeah. But you know what? If it takes a little more time to get it down and be comfortable with what's going to be done, then that's what we need to do.
And in the meantime, we've already got the Lloyd Group
On the
on working with the COVID money.
Yep. He said he's wrapping up budgets. He's basically shifting gears now to start focusing on other things. So that's all I got.
I can't think of anything else that
Brett?
I will go see Mr. Lovelace today and Mr. James and
Okay,
All right, I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
been moved and seconded that we adjourn. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Meeting